Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the reporter for this video. My name is Musanif Dima Abbas. Topic assigned to me is all about the importance of qualitative research across different fields. Qualitative research has methods. Number one is ethnography, interview, focus group, phenomenological research, grounded theory, case study, observation, narrative research. Let us define those methods of qualitative research. We begin to ethnography. Ethnography, research in their natural environment rather than in laboratory. Study of people, culture, and their own environment through the use of methods such as participant observation and face-to-face interviewing. Second one is the interview. Is face-to-face interaction between us interview and interviewee. It helps to explain, better understand, and explore research subjects, opinions, behavior, experiences, phenomenon. Interview questions are usually open-ended questions, so in-depth information will be collected. And qualitative research is conversation, where questions are asked to elicit information. Number 3 is focus group. Are a form of group interview that capitalize on communication between research participants in order to generate data. The idea behind the focus group method is that group processes can help researchers to explore and clarify their views in ways that would be less easily accessible in a one-to-one interview. Number 4 is phenomenological research. It explores what people experience and focuses on their experience of a phenomena. Focuses on the commonality of lived experience within a particular group. Typically, interviews are conducted with a group of individuals who have first-hand knowledge of an event, situation, or experience. Number 5 is grounded theory. Involves the collection and analysis of data. The theory is grounded in actual data, which means the analysis and development of theories happen after you have collected the data. It was introduced by Glasser and Strauss in 1967 to legitimize qualitative research. Number 6 is case study. Is an in-depth study of one person, group, or event. In case study, nearly every aspect of the subject's life and history is analyzed to seek patterns and cues of behavior. Case studies can be used in a variety of fields including psychology, medicine, education, anthropology, political science, and social worker. Number 7 is observation. Participatory means where the researcher is immersed in the day-to-day activities of the participants. Number 2 is non-participatory, whereby the researcher watches the subject of his or her study with their knowledge but without taking an active part in the situation under scrutiny. The last one is narrative research. It aims to explore and conceptualize human experience as it is represented in textual form. Emphasize its own story experience. Generally, this takes the form of interviewing people around the topic of interest, but it might also involve the analysis of written documents. So let us now enter to our main topic. Number 1 is qualitative research and education. Number 2 is qualitative research and technical communication. Number 3 is qualitative research and psychology. Number 4 is qualitative research and advertising. Number 5 is qualitative research and social work. According to Green and Bloom, 1997 distinguished between ethnography of education and ethnography in education. So what is ethnography? By the way, the words ethnography derived from the Greek ethnos, meaning a company, later a people, nation. Graphy meaning field of study. Ethnographic studies focus on large cultural groups of people who interact over time. Ethnography of education, conducted by external researchers, for example, sociologists and anthropologists, focuses on big picture questions such as how education is perceived in different cultures or societies. Investigates what counts as education from different groups, examining their beliefs, values, and practices related to learning. For example, a researcher studying ethnography of education might explore how different cultures define good education, whether they value memorization, creativity, or hands-on learning. Ethnography in education, conducted by insiders, for example, teachers and staff, focuses on specific classroom or school dynamics, for example, interactions between teachers and students. Examines how social and cultural factors shape daily school life and learning processes. For example, a teacher conducting ethnography in education might observe how students from different backgrounds respond to various teaching methods. Some may prefer lectures, while others might learn better through group discussion. Key ethnography question and education. Number 1 is what is considered knowledge in classroom. This question explores what is value as knowledge in a learning environment. Different culture, institutions, and teachers define knowledge differently. For example, in a traditional classroom, knowledge may be defined as factual information from textbooks and lectures, emphasizing memorization and standardized testing. In a progressive classroom, knowledge might include critical thinking, problem solving, and student life experience. In indigenous education, knowledge may incorporate oral tradition, storytelling, and community practices differing from Western academic norms. A teacher choices of curriculum, materials, and assessment methods reflects what is recognized as value, knowledge, and that settings. Number 2, how do teaching styles match students' learning preferences? This question examines whether educators' teaching methods align with students' diverse ways of learning. Teaching styles include lecturing, hands-on activities, discussion-based learning, and technology-enhanced instructions. For example, a visual learner may struggle in a lecture-heavy classroom but thrive with diagrams and videos. A kinesthetic learner may prefer hands-on activities like science experiments, rather than reading theory. In a multicultural classroom, some students may come from backgrounds where collaborative learning is encouraged, while others are used to individual competition. If a teacher primarily lectures and does not adapt to these differences, some students may disengage. However, a flexible approach, such as incorporating group discussion, multimedia, and hands-on projects, can enhance learning for all. Number 3, how do students reach to academic evaluation? This question looks at how students perceive and respond to different types of assessment, such as exams, essay, presentations, and participation grades. For example, a student raised in highly competitive educational system, for example, rote learning-based culture, may see grades as the ultimate indicator of success and feel extreme pressure. Another student from a collaborative, project-based learning system might feel frustrated with high-stakes exams and prefer ongoing feedback. In a classroom where failure is stigmatized, students might resort to cheating or avoid challenging tasks. Conversely, in environments where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities, students may embrace challenges with resilience. Understanding students' reaction can help educators create more supportive assessment methods that foster motivation and learning rather than fear and stress. Number 2 is qualitative research and technical communication. Qualitative research and technical communication focuses on understanding how people interact with and interpret technical content, such as manuals, websites, software interfaces, or other instructional materials. Qualitative research seeks to explore the underlying experiences, attitudes, motivations, and behaviors of users through non-numerical methods. Focus group methods are used to probe deeper research results in order to describe or illustrate current practices and technical communication, which can take the form of email, fax messaging, video and voice conferencing, intranet and extranet, jargons and graphics. Qualitative research seeks to explore the underlying experiences, attitudes, motivations, and behaviors of users through non-numerical methods. It also helps improve the effectiveness, clarity, and user-friendliness of technical content by the understanding the human experience behind it. For example, a company is creating a user manual for a new software product. The technical writers may conduct usability testing as a part of their qualitative research. In this test, they invite a group of potential users to try the software while using the manual as a guide. The researcher observed how easily users can follow the manual's interactions, noting areas where users become confused, ask questions, or get stuck. They may also ask open-ended questions. Some common methods used in qualitative research in technical communication includes: number 1 is interviews, number 2 is focus group, number 3 is usability testing, number 4 is ethnographic studies, number 5 is content analysis. Number 3 is qualitative research in psychology. Qualitative research in psychology is an approach that focuses on understanding human behavior, emotions, thoughts, and experiences in a detailed and in-depth manner, often exploring the meaning behind actions and experiences. Qualitative research emphasizes subjective data such as interview, observations, and case studies. The aim of qualitative research in psychology is to explore phenomena as they occur naturally, often in real-life settings, to gain a deeper understanding of complex psychological processes. Researchers using qualitative methods seek to uncover how individuals make sense of their experiences and the reason behind their thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. The goal of qualitative research in psychology is not to generalize finding to a large population, but to gain a rich, nuanced understanding of individual experiences and social phenomena. It allows for flexibility and deep insights, often generating hypotheses for future quantitative research. Brown and Clark, 2013, claimed that a qualitative research paradigm in psychology has been emerging. The evolution of research paradigm in psychology from traditional to modern reflects a shift in how researchers understand and investigate human thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Brown and Clark, 2013, highlighted this transition, particularly the growing prominence of qualitative research. History and evolution of qualitative research in psychology. Number 1 is qualitative research. Number 1 is early psychology, traditional paradigm, introspection, and subjectivity, late 19th century. Foundation. Psychology originally aimed to establish itself as a hard science by adopting positivism, which emphasizes objectivity, measurement, and empirical observation. In the early days of psychology, several qualitative techniques were widely used but later classified as unscientific due to their lack of empirical rigor, subjective nature, and inability to be reliably tested or replicated. Methodology experiments, surveys, and statistical analysis were the dominant methods. Researchers sought generalizable laws of human behavior through controlled studies. Key figures: Wilhelm Wundt, Experimental Psychology. Criticism: John Watson, Behaviorism was criticized for oversimplifying human experiences, neglecting subjectivity, emotions, and cultural influences. Example study, Wundt's introspection method. In the late 19th century, Wilhelm Wundt, known as the father of psychology, used introspection as a method to study consciousness. Training participants. Individuals were trained to carefully observe and report their own thoughts, sensations, and feelings in response to stimuli. For example, a metronome sounds a visual pattern. Breaking down experience, participants describe their experiences in terms of fundamental elements such as sensations, emotion, and thoughts. Systematic observation. Wundt aimed to make introspection a controlled and structured process to understand how mind works. Example study, Edward Titchener's structuralism. Titchener, Wundt student, further developed introspection through structuralism, analyzing the mind's structure by identifying basic elements of consciousness. He asked participants to describe their thoughts while looking at an object. For example, an apple. Then broke it down into color red, texture smooth, and taste sweet. Number 2 is emergence of alternative paradigms, behaviorism, and positivism, early 20th century. The early 20th century saw the rise of behaviorism. For example, John Watson, B.F. Skinner, which emphasized observable behavior and experimental research. Psychology aligned with positivism, a philosophy that prioritized empirical, measurable data over subjective experiences. This led to dominance of controlled experiments, standardized tests, and statistical analysis. Example study. One of the most famous study by John B. Watson, the founder of behaviorism, is the Little Albert Experiment, 1920. Study overview. Watson and his assistant, Rosalie Rayner, conducted an experiment to demonstrate how emotions such as fear could be a condition in humans using classical conditioning based on Pavlov's work. Methodology. Participant, a 9-month-old baby named Albert. Neutral stimulus. A white rat, Albert initially showed no fear. Unconditioned stimulus, a loud noise, hammer striking a metal bar, which naturally startled and scared Albert. Conditioning process. Watson feared the white rat with the loud noise. After similar firings, Albert began to associate the rat with fear. Eventually, Albert would cry and try to move away even when the rat was presented alone, demonstrating a conditioned fear response. Findings and impact. Generalization. Albert's fear extended to other white, fluffy objective. For example, a rabbit, a fur coat, even a Santa Claus mask. Conclusion. Fear and emotional responses are learned rather than innate, supporting behaviorist theory. Ethical issues. The study lacked informed consent, and Albert was never deconditioned. Modern ethical standards would not allow such an experiment due to potential long-term psychological harm. Legacy. Watson's work laid the foundation for behaviorism, influencing later theories like B.F. Skinner, operant conditioning and applications, and behavior therapy. Example study. Skinner's operant conditioning. B.F. Skinner used the Skinner box to study how reinforcement and punishment shape behavior. Findings. Positive reinforcement reward increases behavior. Negative reinforcement, removal of an unpleasant stimulus, also increases behavior. Punishment decreases behavior. In fact, influence education, therapy in workplace behavior management. Number 3, cognitive revolution, recognizing mental processes, mid-20th century. The cognitive revolution, which began in the mid-20th century, marked a shift in psychology towards understanding mental processes such as perception, memory, reasoning, and problem solving that had previously been overlooked or underexplored. This revolution was in response to the limitation of behaviorism, which focuses only on observable behaviors, neglecting the internal mental processes. Cognitive psychology proposed that to understand behavior, we must also study the mind and how it processes information. Although still rooted in experimental methods, cognitive psychology often doors for studying subject experiences in a more structured manner. Case scholar in cognitive psychology. Ulrich Neisser, often referred to as the father of cognitive psychology, Neisser's 1967 book Cognitive Psychology is considered a landmark in the field. He was instrumental in defining the study of mental processes, and his work focused on perception, memory, and cognitive development. Neisser emphasized the importance of studying cognition in real-world contexts rather than in controlled laboratory settings. Number 2 is George A. Miller, The Magical Number 7 plus or minus 2, 1956. Number 3 is Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, 2011. Number 4 is Herbert A. Simon, Develop the Concept Bounded Rationality. Number 5 is Noam Chomsky, Revolutionalize the Study of Language with his Theory of Universal Grammar, at ang iba pa. Number 4 is Emergence of Qualitative Research, late 20th and 21st century. Researchers began to challenge the limitations of qualitative methods in capturing the depth of human experiences. The qualitative paradigm, influenced by interpretivism and social constructivism, gen transaction, emphasizing mean-making, narratives, and social context. Methods such as thematic analysis, Brown and Clark 2006, grounded theory, and phenomenology become widely accepted. Example study. Number 1 is Brown and Clark 2006, the thematic analysis. Brown and Clark introduced the thematic analysis as flexible method for identifying and interpreting patterns, themes, written qualitative data. Their study outlined a 6-step process for conducting thematic analysis, making it accessible to researchers across disciplines. Example application. Researchers have used thematic analysis to study mental health stigma, analyzing personal narratives of individuals with depression of identify common themes of social evaluation, discrimination, and coping mechanism. Number 2 is Van Manen, 1990. Phenomenology of lived experience. Van Manen's work in hermeneutic phenomenology emphasized understanding human experiences from the perspective of those who live them. He developed a methodology that integrates philosophy and research, helping scholars explore deep subject meanings. Example application. Van Manen's approach has been applied in nursing research, where scholars examine patients' experiences of pain, childbirth, of terminal illness, focusing on the emotional and existential aspect of this event. Number 5, present-day integration, mixed methods and recognition of subjectivity. Contemporary psychology recognizes the value of both qualitative and quantitative research. Mixed methods research, which combine qualitative method and quantitative methods. The qualitative paradigm is now respected for its ability to explore complex psychological phenomena like identity, emotions, and cultural influences. This paradigm shift highlights psychologies involving nature, moving from rigid experimental approaches to a more holistic understanding of human experience. Example of present-day integration. Mixed methods and recognition of subjectivity. In contemporary research, scholars often integrate mixed methods approaches, combining qualitative and quantitative research while acknowledging subjectivity in data interpretation. A good example of this is a study on mental health and social media use. Example study: the impact of social media on adolescents' mental health. A researcher investigates how social media affect adolescents' mental health using a mixed methods approach. Quantitative component, objective data. Survey with 1,000 teenagers, measuring screen time, social media engagement, and self-reported anxiety or depression levels. Statistical analysis identifies correlations between high social media use and increased anxiety symptoms. Qualitative components, subject experiences. In-depth interview with 30 teenagers exploring how they perceive social media's impact on their emotions and self-esteem. The thematic analysis reveals subject narratives such as feeling pressure to conform to online beauty standards. Recognition of subjectivity. The researcher acknowledges their own biases in interpreting the data. For example, their perspective on social media's negative effects. Participants' personal experiences are not dismissed as anecdotal, but rather valued as critical insights that complement statistical findings. Why this is an example of present-day integration. Use both quantitative rigor and qualitative depth to provide a more comprehensive understanding. Recognizes that subjectivity, personal experiences, researcher bases, and inherent. The conclusion. Qualitative research in psychology has evolved as a valuable paradigm that complements traditional quantitative methods initially dismissed as unscientific. Qualitative approaches has gained recognition for their ability to explore the complexity of human thoughts, emotion, and behavior in real-life context. Unlike quantitative research, which emphasizes objectivity, measurement, and statistical analysis, qualitative research focuses on subjectivity, interpretation, and meaning-making. Methods such as interviews, the thematic analysis, case studies, and phenomenology allow researchers to understand psychological experiences in depth. The shift from early introspective methods to the dominance of behaviorism and experimental psychology in the 20th century lead to a strong focus on observable behavior. However, the cognitive revolution in increasing recognition of social and cultural influences in psychology paved the way for the resurgence of qualitative research. Today, psychology benefits from a pluralistic approach, integrating both qualitative and quantitative methods to provide a more holistic understanding of human behavior. As a result, qualitative research continues to play a crucial role in areas such as mental health, identity studies, social psychology, and cultural psychology, offering rich insights that cannot be captured through numerical data alone.